Yo, what is up? I am KallaTheYapper and I'm back with another video. Today, let's talk about the Zone Zero anniversary and the many BS takes I've seen from WTFs and Glazers alike over the course of this entire week ever since last Friday. I've summed up 3 segments worth of addressing regarding this entire topic right now. Here they are. First, Zenless anniversary comparisons. Second, bad takes by Glazers / anti-Hoyo individuals. Number 3, gotcha tribalism. Zenless players are 100% justified. So, now that you know each and every segment, let's get right into it right now. The first anniversary of Zenless Zone Zero is a very good one for many reasons. One of those being the rewards. For those who need a refresher, Genshin Impact's first anniversary was very underwhelming, and one of the biggest reasons for that was in fact due to the lack of free rewards for players who have been supporting the game / playing it for an entire year. It felt like a spit in the player's face for an entire year's worth of support and, more importantly, money. It infuriated those who spent massive amounts of money. Case in point, Tectone, who spent thousands of dollars on the first version of the Genshin weapon banner and lost so many 50-50s trying to get Wolf's gravestone. Or was it Staff of Homa? One of those two. I'm not sure. We even got compensation rewards after complaints were made about that banner or the weapon banner. Y'all can let me know in the comment section. Now, let's continue. The first anniversary for Zenless is seen by the Zenless community as great compared to Genshin, Star Rail, and Wuwa's first anniversaries because expectations were low, obviously, which is a good thing. The rewards given for the first anniversary are good for both old and new players, seeing as the majority of the standard 5-star characters and weapons hold great good value, either one, after an entire year. There isn't any massive amount of predatory business practice happening, like spending events or multiple banner reruns. There isn't any outrage from the community regarding a lack of free rewards, since there was none that was lacking to begin with. There's an anniversary event tied to the anniversary patch that recaps to us our entire journey until now. And finally, the update is on a non-filler patch. I'd now like to compare the rewards from the first anniversaries of these big 4 modern gachas. I won't be mentioning XP materials for characters like weapons, and I won't be mentioning anything related to being given more energy to grind for said XP or artifacts. I also won't be counting apology compensation because it's literally a cop-out to make Wuwa's first anniversary look better than what it really was, aka underwhelming and lackluster. Nor will I be counting events that give more pulls by playing them. The only things that I will be counting are, of course, the free anniversary rewards we receive by simply logging in and getting our promised rewards. So let's run the gauntlet. Genshin's first anniversary gave out a glider skin in the mail, a furnishing item, and 20 pulls. Honkai Star Rail's first anniversary gave out 30 pulls and a 4-star selector. Wuthering Wave's first anniversary gave out nothing much as far as I can tell. We had to wait for a free limited and standard 10 pull to become available to obtain when Zenny's banner was about to end. We also had login pulls that had more standard pulls than limited pulls on them. The Gilded Night Market gave only 7 or 8 limited pulls and not the full 10. A poster from the mail, I believe, and that's about it really. On to the next point. Now, here are some of the bad takes I've seen from Wuwa's community of Glazers. 1. Wuwa had a 5-star selector for its characters and weapons since launch. 2. The 5-star characters and weapons of Zenless Anniversary hold no value to year-long players versus new players, unlike in Wuwa. 3. Better versions of the standard characters already exist, therefore, the standard 5 stars are useless. Number 4. What is this 4? Yeah, number 4. You can't compare the anniversary patches because one is a filler patch while the other is on a X.0 patch, which has a new massive area to explore alongside the anniversary. Now, let's counter these points. First off, bringing up Wua's 5-star standard selector for characters and weapons as a counter to Zenless anniversary rewards, just to say that Wua is better, is a corny position to stand on because it wasn't an anniversary reward. And on top of that, they gave it as a compensation because players missed out on an event or something like that when the game launched. Here's a screenshot. I'm gonna put it up on the screen right here. Now, I may be missing some info since I only started playing Wuwa when the game became available on PS5. So, for those who were there, please give me an in-depth explanation in the comment sections to help me better understand. Now, let's move on to the next point. Saying that the standard 5-star characters / weapons in Zenless hold no value after a year for older players, while implying that Wuwa standard 5-star characters and weapons do hold value, is dumb. It's dumb because most of the standard 5-star characters in Wuwa, along with the weapons, have either lost value over time or didn't have much value to begin with. The only 5-star standard character with long-lasting value is Verena. Not only that, but there are only 2 weapons from the standard banner that are good, those being the sword and gun, since they have crit rate. Meanwhile, Zenless has 2 stunners on the standard banner who are some of the best stunners in the game. Kalita is the fastest stunner in the game. Lycon is one of the best stunners for most of the best meta teams, even after a year. Nekomata is a good physical DPS, and Soldier 11 is a good fire DPS. The only ones that are lacking are Grace and Rena. However, I personally think that Rena might become meta in Season 2 because of Rupture and Sheer Force, and the whole mechanics behind those things. Now, as for the weapons, each and every 5-star standard weapon is made for the standard characters in question. Like the Brimstone, it's a really good weapon because Soldier 11's entire playstyle is centered around doing basic attacks, dash attacks, and counter attacks in order for her to perform her fire suppression. The same applies to the other weapons since they boost the standard character's power even more so from the advanced stats on these weapons, like energy regen, impact, pin ratio, anomaly proficiency, attack, and crit rate. Now, let's move on to the next point. For this point specifically, I've seen St. Totes make this claim. Here's the clip of him saying this and painting it as if it's a Zenless only problem. He does this just to paint the Zenless standard characters as worthless units that hold no value. So here's the clip.
With the standard 5 stars, I think is the perspective of, is a standard 5-star character a year into release and a standard 5-star W engine, is that enough to elevate this into like the best anniversary ever? When, let's be entirely honest here, there are better versions of all of those characters already out. It's a year into release when, thinking about these 5-star units and these 5-star W engines, they would have been a lot more helpful way earlier on in release when there weren't as many characters on the roster, there weren't as many teams people could build, and they could actually pick and choose how they want to craft some of those early teams. Like, when I think about it from that perspective, I'm like, the value of these standard 5 stars isn't as high as it was before. They're getting added now, and it's on top of just 33 limited pulls.
Now that you've seen the clip, let's get into it. Firstly, everyone already knows this to be true. However, as I've explained before, the standard units are still viable even after a year. Also, there are players who have skipped the better Soldier 11, aka Evelyn, and don't regret it since they already have Soldier 11 as their fire attack DPS that they've invested in. If said player already has a copy of Soldier 11 and has her weapon, it's best to get either another copy of her or another copy of her weapon to make either one even more powerful. And if you don't have the character nor her weapon, you could at least get one for now and hope that you lose your future 50/50s to either another copy of Soldier 11 or her weapon, since that would be a long-term investment for making Soldier 11 even stronger. The same logic applies to the other standard units and their weapons. So seeing Saint paint the rewards as if they don't have any value is so retarded, especially considering the fact that the 5-star selector has been in Zenless since release, similar to Wuha. Yes, you need to have been pulling on the standard banner to reach 300 pulls to pick whichever character you wanted. However, that doesn't excuse their value in the slightest. Also, you can obtain those characters and their weapons from the same standard banner as well, meaning you would have obtained them way before the anniversary awards were revealed. It's the matter of fact. It's the simplest, straight up the truth. I'm flabbergasted right now, but you get the point I made. Now, onto the final take. I'd like to mention that anyone claiming that you can't compare Wuwa's first anniversary to Zenless, Genshin, and Star Rail's first anniversaries because it's on a X.0 patch is a very bad take and ultimately just a poor excuse to defend Wuwa's first anniversary from criticism. When you look back on the first anniversaries of Genshin and Star Rail, you'll notice that they weren't on patches that were the releases of a entire new region or planet in either games, respectively. Genshin's first anniversary was on version 2.1. Star Rail's first anniversary was on version 2.1 as well. And Wuwa's first anniversary was on version 2.3. However, Wuwa having its anniversary on 2.3 doesn't make sense, seeing as the game was released on May 22nd, 2024, but the anniversary patch was released on April 29th, 2025. It's a weird business move for sure. I do believe that the rush to version 2 was an act of desperation on the devs' part, which explains why the anniversary was off base in relation to the game's release date. Now, it's a 50-50 if we're going to jump to version 3.0 after 2.4. Another thing I want to add is that seeing people like Saint needing to mention the total amount of pulls you'd get from the 2.3 patch and using that as a defense for the game to stave off criticism is also corny as hell. Here's the clip.
It's a direct comparison to the rewards that we had in Wuthering Waves, where at a baseline, if you count the anniversary events that Wuwa had, that's around 57, 58 limited pulls that you get from Wuthering Waves. And for a lot of veteran players in both games, they would also prefer to have more limited pulls than a standard dupe, which is what a veteran player is probably going to get, and a standard W engine that they might already have like signatures and stuff.
What Saint just said was a very disingenuous comparison, especially when what he said also applies to Zenless Zone Zero's anniversary rewards as well. And the amount of pulls we get or will get from the whole patch, whether it's from events, story, side quests, companion, story quests, combat events, and so on. He is obsessed with needing to downplay Zenless's anniversary, acting like Wuwa had the best anniversary rewards of all time, which are the rewards from the events, mind you, which most of them you can't even get. The amount of free pulls for Wuwa's anniversary was 37, while Zenless was 30. Not much difference there. The only reason Saint and anyone else using this same BS point needing to mention the events from Wuwa's anniversary is purely to save face for the lack of rewards that the devs themselves even admitted to, which is why they had to give out compensation for the lack of said free rewards. Meanwhile, Zenless didn't need to do this because the rewards were good across the board. As I've mentioned before as well, the standard characters and weapons in Wuwa are less valued because most of them have either lost value over time or have never had value to begin with. That's the reason why WoW players would prefer limited pulls over another copy of a standard character, because simply the standard characters, my bad, and weapons in WoW are for the most part shit compared to the limited options in the game. This logic doesn't apply to Zenless with what I have stated before relating to their standard weapons and characters. It's just not the same. It's not even an equal comparison between the two. But he's framing it like it is. It's cornballish. Also, let's be real. This same argument that Saint Tontas is making would have been made for Genshin's first anniversary patch, since there was a lack of free rewards as well, and that more pulls would have been obtained from the 2 new islands, the Moon Chase event, the Archon quest, and so on. But no one wants to have that discussion, though, and or refuses to acknowledge this obvious fact. Now, onto the final segment. Now that I've reached the final segment of the video, let's get right into it. Seeing the WoW community and its glazing CCs act like victims of harassment when Zenless players celebrate their first anniversary is so stupid. I say this because they are acting like they haven't been shitting on the game since launch, from doom posting, making disingenuous claims about the state of the game regarding HP inflation and power creep, and or using Twitch as the end all be all proof that the game still isn't performing well, when they could help it by simply, streaming it more and helping get more reach. But let's be honest, they're not going to play it for any significant amount of time since it's a Hoyo game, despite the game being actually good. To get back on topic, Zenless and its community of players have had to continue to receive this type of treatment from WoW's community. They have every right to rub it in WoW players' face in the dirt that their anniversary is something to flex in comparison to WoW's. Let's be honest, WoW's anniversary was not something to flex at all. Let's keep it a beanstack, because Zenless anniversary actually looks good, and it's one that isn't deserving of community backlash for lackluster rewards. Now, to conclude the video, Zenless Zone Zero's first anniversary is good and packed with shit to do. WoW's anniversary and rewards should have been good from the start, seeing as players really wanted to support the game they deemed as the underdog. Now they have a sour taste in their mouths about how the anniversary was handled, and pray that WoW isn't going down a non-player friendly route. Get the whole player friendly thing. And I feel the same way a little bit. WoW 2.4 should have been the anniversary, not 2.3, since the lolly knight that can turn into a 7-foot tall titan has become players' new favorite waifu from Renacita. Thanks for watching the video. Like, sub, and join the YouTube community Discord if you like. Also, turn on the notification bell for when I post a video or when I'm streaming. I really appreciate anyone watching the video. It took me a little while to get this video done because I wanted to get it done on last Saturday, but then I was like, oh snap, actually I can't do that. I gotta wait about a week just to see whatever other BS takes going to be given, and I'm actually glad I waited. So this video turned out to be better than how I originally was going to do it. It was actually, this video was going to be a rant video originally, but I had to quell it back. So I appreciate y'all waiting for the video to drop and all that cool stuff. And that's about it. Yep, that's all I got to say. Good night. See you later. Peace. And until the next video.